Hi guys, and welcome to another video. And in today's shenanigans, we're going to test out the theory that there's always something to photograph at the coast. Now, I've come to a beach in South East Northumberland, which isn't the most scenic of beaches. You know, it's quite industrial, it still has a certain charm about it. And really, we're going to go out and see if there is always something to photograph at the coast. Just set up my first shot, and as I've said before, the first shot is in some ways the most important because really it just gets your creative juices flowing a little bit. And I've gone for a simple long exposure of one of the single posts out at sea. I've fitted a 10x ND filter to slow it down. I'm at ISO 100, f18, and that's giving me a shutter speed of 20 seconds. I've put on a 2-second self timer. I'm focusing on the post, and I'm just going to take it. And really, that's it. That's the job done. Okay, I've just reviewed the image and I made a schoolboy error. It was looking a little bit soft and I was thinking, why is that happening? Well, what it was, I'd left the optical image stabilisation switched on my lens. So what that meant was the camera was trying to compensate for movement that actually wasn't happening, thus resulting in a slightly unsharp image. So anyway, I've switched it off, I've retaken the shot, and now I'm going to put the image up. Right, so I've just swung the camera around. I know it's a nice little scene here and I quite like the way the tide's coming in, so with a 10x filter that's sort of blurring it out a little bit. But the problem is, you can see in the distance the turbine's moving. So what that means basically is the turbine's going to effectively become invisible because the exposure's quite long, so as it's moving constantly there's basically nothing's recorded. But you know, it's a trade-off. I'm going to put the shot up, I quite like it. It would be nice to have the turbine. I could possibly take the filter off and take the shot so I've got a static turbine and then sort of merge, but you know, I don't want to do that. Okay, as you can see, I've moved further back now, so I've got, basically, there were 2 posts on the beach, which, if you come with high tide, normally actually in the water, so you can get the 4 posts in the water and the water sort of blurring around, which can look really nice. So the first thing I did when I arrived was check the tide timetable, so that I'd know if the tide's coming in or out, and that's sort of kind of important with coast, because then you have an idea of what you're working with. Anyway, the sun's coming out, I'm just going to take this shot. As I say, I normally take it with water around, but this is a little bit different and I quite like the patterns in the sand. So I'm hoping the little bit of sunlight's going to lift it a touch. Hopefully I won't get too much flare on the lens. And yeah, I'll put the shot up now. I'm having to work quite quick while the sun's out. I've moved around, so now I've only got 3 posts. So you may have heard of something called the rule of odds, and the general idea is that an odd number will work better, hence why I only went for 1 post earlier. Now I feel the 4 posts didn't work as well, even though there's an argument that they were sort of leading the eye into the frame slightly. But anyway, this is a simple trio of posts. The sun's out, 2-second timer's on, I'm taking the shot. I'm not sure what the exposure is at the moment, but when it's taken, I'll put it up. Yeah, I'm super pleased with that shot. Really, it goes to show a couple of things. First of all, there's always more than one angle you can take on a subject. And secondly, come out whatever the weather, because the forecast today was really drab, which is hence the reason why I decided to film it today, really. But the sun's broke through and it just transformed the shot. Lovely, really pleased. Anyway, let's carry on, see what else we can find. I'm hoping to try and get a few more abstracts in now, really, because, you know, we're at the coast and that's always a nice thing to shoot. So now, as you can see, for this shot, I've actually come up onto the sand dunes. And all I'm going to do is a very simple shot with the grasses here that are growing on the sand dunes sort of overlapping each other and almost forming a little archway looking down the beach. Now I want to keep an abstract field in this shot, so what I'm doing, I'm purposely shooting at a fairly shallow depth of field, f8 in this case. I may drop it down, and really that's just to throw the background out a little bit, because I'm not particularly that bothered about us being able to see everything in the distance. I don't need front to back sharpness. What I do need is all these grasses nice and sharp. So really, by reducing the depth of field, what I'm allowing is a faster shutter speed, which means there's less chance of any sort of blur on these grasses. Now, hopefully I'll get a little bit of sun, but I'm going to take the shot anyway. And I've set it up, 2-second self timer again, and really, I'll put the shot up now. Now I do appreciate this kind of shot is not to everybody's taste, and some people like to see the big vista, but I think it's important sometimes just to think outside the box, you know, and feel free to get a little bit abstract because it still tells the story. And I'm not sure if you can see, but behind me there's some nice bright coloured houses. Not sure if you can make those out. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try and find a viewpoint and see if I can get a shot of the houses, which are nicely brightly painted. And you know, it had a little bit of splash of colour, and again, it just tells you by the coast, and it's just a little bit different. It may or may not be a keeper, but you know, it's nice to experiment. Okay, I've just composed a shot. It's not exactly what I had in mind, but it's still quite nice. What I've got 4 of the nice brightly coloured houses, which contrast nicely with the church at the end of the row. So yeah, it's a nice little shot. I'd like to be a little bit nearer, but there's a railway track in the way, so there's not really much I can do. Now what I've done to make the shot a little bit more interesting, hopefully, is I've added a 10 times ND filter again. So what I'm hoping is to get a little bit of movement in the clouds above. Just add a bit of contrast and drama against the brightly coloured houses. Again, this shot's not to everybody's taste, and it's a little bit of an experiment. But you know, if you're visiting the coast, you're going to see things that you don't normally see inland. And one of those might be brightly coloured houses like this. So you know, when in Rome. So I'm going to stay on the dunes now. I'm going to head slightly inland and continue following the coast up. This is the point where I really chose a location which was basically a little bit more rocky, so I can find some abstracts. But there's got to be some around. We're by the coast, you know what they say. There's always something to photograph at the coast. So let's continue on and let's try and find something a little bit more abstract. Well, I wanted abstract, and this is super abstract. Basically what I've got a single strand of grass poking through some sand, and that's it, nothing else. Not really that much to say about it. I'm shooting at f8, which is going to give me enough depth of field. I don't particularly need to see front to back sharpness because everything behind is just sort of like brown, sand coloured, funny enough. It's super abstract, not for everybody's taste. I quite like it. You may not, I'll let you be the judge. I'll put the shot up now. I've just noticed this piece of burnt, weathered wood with a little bit of sand on it. It may be quite nice actually. I'm going to compose a shot. Well, I wanted abstract, and this is definitely abstract. I'm at maximum magnification with my 24 to 105mm lens. So what I've done, I've put it into the APS-C crop mode, which will still give me a fairly decent file size on my Sony A7Riii. I could have just shot at normal size and cropped down later, but I just like to do it this way so I can actually sort of get a visual idea of what's happening. And really, it's all about texture. It's all about the sand, which has sort of fallen into the little nooks and crannies of the burnt wood, the burnt weathered wood into the bog, you know. So there's loads of character going on. Really abstract. The sort of thing you can perhaps imagine on a wall of a cafe, you know. It's quite simple, quite pleasing. 2 second self timer again, and I'll put the shot up. I've turned off the APS-C crop mode now, and I've sort of rejiggled it slightly. I've gone slightly wider, and I've tried to get diagonals going on the grain of the wood, so it's sort of nice diagonals going for the frame. You know, it's very pleasing for the composition. Again, it's dead simple. It's a very simple composition. So I've taken it, and I'll put the shot up now, and we'll try and find one last thing to photograph. Well, I've just come back to the car park, and I've taken a few handheld shots, and I've also set up the tripod. And you know, the lights come out. It's been nice to take some more big vistas and just have a general little bit of a play. You know, the light's not brilliant. I'm not going to take any amazing shots, but it's been interesting. And I think really I'm going to end the video here. So I think the whole point of this video really was to see if there is always something to photograph at the beach. And I think really it's a resounding yes. There's always something that you can capture, that you know, you can experiment, you can play, you can get creative, and you'll always find some sort of subject. So if you're on a limb and not sure what to actually photograph on a certain day, head to the coast. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't, because it's really the only way I can tell if people are enjoying these videos. And I'll see you again shortly in another one. Thanks for watching.